Hey everybody, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting after like 30 minutes. We are back again. This time we are doing an indie show and we are talking Invincible. The Ultimate Collection Volume 2 is what I'm reading, which is basically 14 through 24, which I think is like volumes 4 and 5 maybe, because they do pretty tight volumes. Anyway, got my panel with me tonight. We're going to be talking about these issues. We got the Unruly Simeon. What's going on, man?
I can't call it, man. It's getting hot here in freaking Atlanta. That's all I know.
Oh, yeah. You know, the Dirty South is definitely hot. So it's hot here, and we're usually not as bad as you guys. So we got Daymers, who also lives south of me, and it's probably even hotter than I am. So,
but cooler than Unruly.
Cooler than Unruly. There you go. Then we got Kirk, who lives out in California, where it's like 70 all the time and nice.
It's still hot out here.
It's so hot out here. Really hot. There you go. So what's going on tonight, fellas? You guys excited to talk about this?
Yeah. Can't wait.
Oh, we got Stay Puff in the house. What's going on, man?
What up, Sean?
Yeah, Sean is hanging out with us. We appreciate it. I'm super excited about this whole series. I'll give my quick thoughts just on these issues. I felt like this was a ton of they do that big main first story arc, and then this felt like was setting up a whole bunch of future story arcs. It felt like this was all set up like future villains, and they set up a bunch of them. Really, what were your thoughts on this section of the story here?
You're exactly right. But you know what? It just keeps flowing from one scenario to the next, and that is exactly like the Marvel books I grew up with in the 70s. It seemed like not always, but 2/3 of the way through the issue, they're close to resolving it with villain A, and then here's villain B in the background lurking, and you know he's coming up. There's never any let up, there's never a moment's peace. And I like that, especially in a superhero comic.
Definitely. Daymers, what did you think of these issues?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, and even Invincible himself mentions that a lot of times there'll be weeks without nothing, but the past 2 weeks have just been, nonstop.
Yeah. And I can believe that, Sean. I definitely can believe that. Kirk, what are your thoughts just generally about these?
I totally agree with everybody. Like, it definitely set up a lot. I'm really big on leaving little Easter eggs to build up, later on in the story, and that's exactly what it did.
Yeah.
I really liked seeing the development of a lot of characters. Some were sadder than others, especially we'll get into certain characters development, but yeah.
Yeah, it's basically, it feels like that I'm sure Dad's coming back at some point, but it feels like not for a while. They want to let Mark kind of come into his own here before he has to deal with his dad again. It feels like and they were trying to set up basically a lot of his rogues gallery probably going forward, but there was also a lot of fallout from the big fight for both Mark and his mom, and I like that that's not 2-issue wrapped up and then they're on with their new lives. That they continue to go back to that as a touchstone for them, because it would be huge. So I'm trying to think. It's kind of weird because it's I feel like a lot of times when I read a lot of these series, there's you can go this person's storyline through this volume. These volumes are they're just a bunch of small stories that are semi-independent, I feel like. I mean, they're part of his overall arc, but they're very independent. So where do you guys want to start? What was your favorite part of this volume? Because I feel like you can jump around and you're not really you don't have to go in order necessarily here when you're talking about these. This time I'll start with you, Kirk. What was your favorite part in this particular volume?
It was Oh, definitely do going back and dimension hopping. What's his name? Starts with the A.
Angstrom.
Yeah, Angstrom. When he was just basically just dimension hopping, grabbing like his versions of himself from different timelines. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because he can like teleport between the multiverse, all these different universes. Yeah. And he pulling himself and the Mahler twins from all these different like versions.
I love that was my favorite part. He was just like, "Are you guys going to come? Make a decision." He's like, "We out."
Yeah. All right. Well, Damers, what do you think of that storyline? What the Mahler twins?
That was probably my favorite part in there too. But you know, the best part. One thing I found interesting though is that how that real life things had consequences. Like, you know, like he was talking about him and his mom and the struggle there, and you know, like the school being out for 5 weeks because the city was destroyed. You know, and all the businesses being closed because the city was destroyed. You know, you don't normally see that in comic books. Normally, you know, even though, you know, stuff may be wiped out, you know, next issue, for the most part, everything's fine again.
Yeah. No, I agree that it's definitely something that they're doing, and they're actually like following through on what happens. There are consequences, not just to the fallout of the big fight, but just other things. Like when there was the alien invasion, and then it was like, oh, well, the school got destroyed, so yeah, we were out forever, and that kind of thing. What about you, Unruly? What was your favorite part of this?
My favorite part was the Atlantean side trip and the side trip to Mars.
Oh,
The Atlantean side trip, that was just hilarious, man. And even though it was kind of obvious, you know, the way it solved itself, that was still pretty cool. But another thing I love, when they go to Mars, it's like between them, the astronauts landing on the planet, going through the whole setup with the 8 Martians and then the sequids, and them booking back to the shuttle, 8 pages. He did all of that in 8 pages. In a Marvel book, that would be 3.5 issues.
Yeah.
And in DC, probably they'd squeeze a whole other out.
Well, that's just it. There's like, that's why I was kind of having a hard place figuring out where to start here, because there's the whole underwater thing. There's the Mars trip. There's the fight, the fight against the gangsters. There's the like, there's just a bunch of little small, the Reanimen, there's the Darkwing's little protege fight, and there's all these different, like, he's fighting all these different like smaller villains and setting up villains. There's the Angstrom story. There's like, we even get an issue of Alan, which I always like. And so for me, yeah. So yeah, I just like that. I'm probably with Damers. Like, my favorite part of this was that there were consequences. Like, that, you know, when something happens, they deal with it. Like the people worshiping the garbage bag. Like that there was like this thing, and then the other thing he throws comes down, his graduation hat comes down and lands on the guy. It's like, what are you doing? And they're like, ah! You know, complete but it's like, I love that they like keep it connected. They keep bringing stuff back, and they like make everything that happens mean something to the world. So for me, that was the best part of this volume, is that they just, all the little connections they kept making really worked for me. So let's just pick a few of these and start like talking about them. I think the first place though I do want to start is Mark's mom, and like that. Let's talk about like the fallout for him and her of dear old dad like being evil and actually planning to take over the world and beating Mark within an inch of his life before he ran away, and saying that she was like his pet. What did you guys think about that? Just her arc during this volume and what she's going through.
I felt so bad for her, because it's like the artist drawing her is like perfect, because he you can see her descent into like alcoholism because she's hitting the bottle hard.
Yeah.
And you can see it's like it's driving a division between, because there's at one point where she's like it's your fault, you drove him away. And I was like, damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell she's not handling it very well. And and she's struggling, which you can believe. I mean, she thought one thing for 20 some odd years, and to have it all turn out to be literally all be a lie. Just all things together, she's probably actually holding it together better than you can almost expect.
Especially there towards the end.
Yeah. Because she does seem to already
whenever she decides to get a purpose, besides just
she goes in, she's getting a job and she's gonna like work and do stuff and like not just sit around. So yeah, we see her hit the bottom to a degree, or the bottom of the bottle for sure, but the bottom a little bit, and then you see her start to like pull herself back up. That she is, that she's not just gonna be defined by this, that she's gonna keep moving. And really, what do you think about her?
She had to hit two bottoms when it initially happened, and then when it was leaked to the world.
Yeah.
And the whole world got to hear him call her his pet.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, we got a shit ton of really funny internet memes out of it. Those pet memes were everywhere the week after that episode aired.
No way.
Oh yeah. I saw at least 3 or 4 dozen.
This is harsh. Oh man. All right. Anything else on that? I mean, I feel like that it's a pretty straightforward. I think they handle it really well. I think you see her, like go through all the different stages of kind of grief, and she goes through a little bit of denial, like the part where she's blaming Mark. And clearly, that's denial. So I do think that they handle it. I just think they handle it really well, and it like seems it's just well written. It seems sort of how a real person would, what they would do. I mean, that they would be suffering the way that she goes through it.
I agree.
Let's see. So what do we think of the other like personal relationship we get a lot of in this one? Is we get Mark and his girlfriend. What do we think about the girlfriend and Mark and his decision to like try to make up with her by telling her who he is?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's going to end up biting him in the butt in the end. I still need to read the other trades moving forward to find that out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about the mom telling the other superhero's wife about her son, because I feel like that's going to be thrown back in her face too.
Yeah, I feel like that was it was clearly a immature decision on his part, because like I don't know. I don't know where this is going for sure, but like I don't see them ending up together, and I feel like that's probably gonna like when they do break up that's gonna end up biting him in the ass if he knows. But Unruly Damers, what do you guys think about that?
She's a decent person.
Right.
So I don't know if it's gonna bite.
Oh yeah.
Or not. But yeah, I mean, mom has got her reasons to tell the other wife of a superhero. His reasons are equally valid. He wants some yang. You can't blame him there. But I mean, really, he's 18. There's almost no such thing as a mature 18-year-old. Literally, one out of 1,000 of us.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of decisions he's going to make.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I found interesting is, whenever the mom was saying, well, how many people know? And he was going through the list, and you told so-and-so? It was like, well, yeah, it's not too hard to figure out. He's known me for years. It's not like glasses are a good disguise.
Oh, it's like a nod to Superman. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, I think like it's a completely real decision that he makes, and I agree with them really that she's not like a bad person, but she's also like, I feel like, and I don't know, my expectation is that he ultimately is going to be the one that dumps her, and that like that won't go over well, and that she will make an emotional decision, and like tell someone that she shouldn't, even though like with no intent of it coming back. But I feel like that could start something that he's not going to like appreciate or gonna regret a little bit. His other friend, I feel like it's kind of the same. I think his other friend is safer, but because he figured it out on his own anyway. But it's just like, yeah, we'll see, and maybe it's not going to be that big a deal. I feel like they talked about it a lot for it not to be something. So,
yeah, and his buddy is talk about immature.
Yeah.
I mean, he just blurts it out to random people.
Give me a ride, carry me.
Yeah, like I will say that's like and we'll go off topic, but I've finally been watching the show after I finished this volume, which I'm glad I did wait till I got done with this because there's a lot of spoilers for this also in the show. And like, yeah, I like the character change of his buddy Will from here to the show a lot. I like that version of Will way better than this version. But just a more interesting character. I feel like this is a very flat. His buddy's a very flat, one note kind of guy in this book. You know, his whole shtick is it's William, not Will. Like that's like half what he says.
Well, and you know, a point Daymare made earlier about the real life consequences. When Cecil is debriefing him when he regains consciousness from the fight with his dad, he mentions in passing, millions of dollars worth of property damage, thousands of lives lost.
Yeah.
You really never hardly see that in a normal.
You don't see that mentioned at all in a normal thing. Yeah, they just gloss over, you know, that side of things for sure.
But something I really love about this is how they just dive into shit. Like at the end of issue 13, when he's sitting on the moon with Alan, and Alan says, "What are you going to do? Finish high school, I guess." The very next issue starts out with a fight, big full page splash fight scene. And when they're with the Martians, the Martian is explaining to him, "I'm afraid that it's not possible. They are scheduled to be executed." Mark goes, "Executed," and the next page is he's herding the astronauts across the surface of Mars.
Yeah, that page is excellent.
All the Martians after him. I love how they just do those jump cuts straight into action.
Well, they don't like. I do think we talked about that a little bit. You talked about that whole sequence was 8 pages, like the whole Martian thing, and I think it clearly, obviously, based on the 2 reveals at the end, is setting up future villains, but it also like this isn't necessarily important. This is a setup. We're going to spend the appropriate amount of time on it, and then we're going to move on to the other. You know, this is kind of like, okay, this is something that's going on. This happened, but this isn't part of the main. It's something that Mark is involved in, but it's not necessarily critical to Mark. So we don't spend 2 issues on the Martian trip, which I think every other series in the world, they would probably been a 3 or 4 issue arc, like Unruly said, or maybe more, like of going to Mars. And I love how like they go to Mars and he like sits down to like thing and he looks up and they're gone. It's like, what the heck? We just got here, you know, and they're already captured. And it's just real. I just think it's really well done. From that standpoint of.
Well, and have you noticed how fast paced it is? It's incredible. You know, just boom, 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 boom. I love this. I love that.
Mm-hmm. But then other parts that, you know, need to be sort of stretched out are, you know, like some segments with his mom and stuff sitting down to dinner, you know.
Yeah. There's parts where it's like the conversation is just going.
Yeah. I mean, I think they spend like it's clearly just the style. And I haven't read Kirkman. This is the first Kirkman. I've never read Walking Dead. This is really the first Kirkman I've spent a lot of time on. And I think he really wants to, like, at least the impression I get of this book is it's mostly about, ultimately, it's mostly going to be about the relationships of these people and not necessarily the events and fights and that kind of stuff. Like, that surrounds, that's obviously because of what Mark is and, you know, and what the other characters are. Those things happen in this world. But it's really, like, he really wants to spend his time focused on the in-between. Because Stamers, you're right. He spends more pages on the in-between conversations than he does on the battle scenes for the most part.
But he makes sure and has a bunch of battle scenes in there too. You know, it to me, it's sort of the best of both worlds. He doesn't spend. You know, you've got your blood and gore and heroic stuff, and then you've also got dialogue. You know,
the human side of the superhero. Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I just counted like 8 or 9 pages of dialogue between battles. That's pretty intense. Shifting from a couple of 3 different conversations.
Yeah.
And how about the classic when he's with this girl? I can't even remember her name. That's how unimportant she is to what.
Yeah, I forget.
But so he has to abandon her to attack the zombie robot.
Yeah.
It's classic Clark Kent and Lois, you know.
Yeah. And then he comes running back, and she's like, "Where did you go?" You know. To get help. I love how she thinks he's a drug dealer because he keeps disappearing.
Well, he looks at his beeper and has to run all the time.
Yeah.
And who has a beeper? You know, like they said before.
Little too.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Only person I know is my dad.
Nobody has one now. Like this is even this. Like even back then, it was a beeper was getting dated, and now it's like, what the hell? Like kids today read this, they'd be like, "What the hell's a beeper?"
It's like, I feel old.
Technology moves so quickly, man. I remember the only people I knew that had beepers were lawyers and doctors, and then like 2 years later, everyone had them. And then 2 years
my
later,
dad had one.
2 years later, everybody had one of these, and it didn't matter. Yeah, beepers were a very tight window. Not that we necessarily spend time talking about that, but it was a very narrow band of when those were like important. So the other thing we get introduced to, I feel like, and the only reason I know this is because I've heard people talk about him, and which I thought was like when they have their fight, what is it, Titan and Invincible go to take on Metalhead, and we get introduced to that guy,
Battle Beast,
who just like mops the like they're the other villains in that page. Like there's a whole team of like bad guys that they got to fight, and the others are like, I feel like given time he probably beats all the others or they win. But yeah, Battle Beast pretty much just mops the floor with him. Like, and I've heard enough to know that he is probably important later, but it was just funny to me because, he's introduced as kind of as part of this group. And, like, he's the only one that stood out to me during that whole little sequence. Like, oh.
As he was supposed to.
Yeah.
Or should we?
And I love when the Guardians show up and you see them kind of whoop up on all the others, and then you look over and he's got the 2 guys like by the head, and he's like, "You guys aren't even worth my time. I'm out of here." Like I was promised a challenge.
Get out of my face.
Meanwhile, during this whole sequence, we're setting up a really cool arc with the future villain.
Yeah.
A little backstabbing. What was his name?
Oh, Titan. Yeah, the reveal that it was actually just he wasn't like taking the guy down because he was bad. He was taking the guy down so he could take his place. It's really well done.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I didn't like necessarily think that's where that was going until you get like where the other guy's helper comes back and is talking. I'm like, oh, so that's what's going on. That was like I did not anticipate that little reveal. So yeah, Titan was a fun character. I feel like they set up several like good potential villains going forward, like Angstrom, Battle Beast, Titan. Even the Martian thing, I think is going to be interesting. The only one they set up to me that I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in was the little guy that was making the Reanimin or whatever. Like, what is that guy's name? Sinclair? Is that what it is? Or
Yeah, the hoity-toity fellow student.
yeah, the guy that's like, I'm smarter than everybody, and like that guy didn't. That was the only one of the ones they set up that really didn't interest me at all. But so what did you guys think of just in general, like some of those bad guys? I know you talked about Angstrom earlier, or a couple of you did. What did you think about some of these bad guys they're setting up that we're going to fight going ahead?
Well, I love how Angstrom has the perfect Doctor Doom origin analogy. You know, it's his own stuff going on that causes all this. But he's going to blame Mark for it, by God.
No, I know. like Mark didn't even wasn't effective at all. Like at trying to shut down the machine, he's the one that decided to shut down the machine and like cause massive destruction and result in a thing. And he's just like, "Wasn't my fault. I couldn't have messed up. I'm gonna get that kid."
And meanwhile, we've got the surviving clone all disfigured, lurching into the darkness. I'm loving this, man. I'm having more fun rereading it than I did the first time around.
I will say, Otley does a fantastic job in this book. I feel like it's sort of by the book. I mean, like, I don't feel like there's any, like, it's not like some of the other stuff I've read where you turn a page and like the splash page, they're like, oh my God, like, look at this art. But it's, every panel I feel like it's very solid. The characters are very consistent in their look, even though there's a wide variety of characters. Like, when he needs to, he can make a really, like, awesome splash. His fights, I think, are good in terms of they're easy to follow. A lot of times you get fights and like one thing's happening in the next panel, it's like, well, how did they get into that position? And like, so what do you guys think of Otley and the work he's doing?
I
like it.
him.
Yeah,
he's the perfect mix or medium between realistic and cartoonish for me. Even though the style's a lot different, I'm very much reminded of Bagley in Ultimate Spidey. That same mix between realist and cartoon.
Yeah.
right.
And he can do anything well. He can shoot frame a shot from any angle. That's pretty hard. A lot of artists don't have that. His composition is great. I like it. It's perfect for the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything from your classic 9 panels to your splash page, one page away. I was looking at Alan's story.
The Alan story.
I really like the way that was done. In the beginning anyway, where it, True Believers and refer back to issue 11 and see issue 13 and.
Or try to get back to that page. There it is. Yeah, you have a little interlude, and then it's like,
that's like the
old school. I might get make it a little bigger, but yeah. And then I will say, like, he does violence really well. Because this is a bloody book, and like when Alan gets his butt kicked. You're gonna feel that tomorrow. Like his eye like popping out and just like he does not hold back on the gore.
Yeah.
To any degree.
It's not there all the time, but when it's there, it's like in your face for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he draws the after effects of violence perfectly.
Yeah.
And are we going to mention Mark got some? That good for you, Mark.
It's like,
You know, he uses being a hero to get a little, you know.
Oh my!
I do love, and I love how they handle it. Just the like, oh well, while this is happening, we're going to jump to Alan's story so we don't disturb Mark and Amber. It's like,
and what's going on with Robot and that little creature?
I know. I feel. I mean, you've read the whole series, Unreally, haven't you? I I feel
So-
like he might go down being a bad guy eventually too.
I will
That's
say
just my
that's
prediction.
and I don't know if that's where like because the TV show is definitely different than the comic, but there has been some fairly consistent story points, and that is one thing. Like the TV show went further than I'd gotten here on Robot Story, and I was like, oh, I hope that, like I don't want to read that. Like, so we'll see if that's where it's going. But I was like, oh, darn it. So.
And I believe Kirkman has mentioned that there's going to be more than a couple of minor tweaks. I think he's got some measure of his hand in this pod. He's going to change it up. He's not going to be afraid to change it up at all if he feels like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same way with The Walking Dead. I mean,
The Walking Dead show was different. Yeah.
Well,
At least it wasn't like Game of
Unlike always. Yeah. What'd you say, Kirk?
No, I was just saying. At least it wasn't like Game of Thrones, where the TV series is still is going when the book is still need to be finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a complete story, and if he wants to go back and tweak it a little bit, I do like I will recommend although they're getting somewhat hard to find, but I do love all the bonuses and art stuff you get. We were talking about Otley's art. Like you get a ton of Otley's art in the covers and stuff in these sketches in the back of these volumes, which are really cool.
Mine doesn't include any of that.
Yeah,
But
character designs and
does yours have the origins?
I do have the origins. Yes.
Okay.
Do we want?
Oh, nice.
Do we want to? Did you guys? Does everybody have the origin stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah. That was issue 0, I think, wasn't it? Or am I wrong?
Yeah. So did yours collect the origins? The version you read, Kirk?
What? I don't think I did.
And we had little origins for Monster Girl.
Would have been
I
right
was
at the
so
end.
bad for Monster Girl.
24.
As much of a butt she can be, but it's her backstory. They talk about it in the she has a conversation with Robot.
Yeah.
I didn't realize she was de-aging.
Yeah.
I just thought that was just she was just a youngster. with
Yeah. So
superpowers.
you get they do have a little short couple page backstory in this that they have attached in this volume, and it's interesting, and it's basically she was 20 something and then got cursed with this, and then now she looks like 12.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they talk about the fact that she kept trying to give up, not use her powers because she knew it was doing damage, but then people would need help, so she would do it again anyway, and she finally was just like, fuck it. She was just I'm just gonna do it. But yeah, that was kind of a fun.
One point in an earlier issue in this arc where, I'm glad we wrapped that up. I've got a date tonight. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
With Jared?
Yeah.
And then that new what was the new guy that added to the their Justice League group she kept trying to hit on the whole time. He had to make an H. He had to tell HR.
And tell HR on her. Well, she's this 28-year-old, I think she says in here, and trapped in a 12-year-old's body. It would suck. Yeah, because everybody looks at you like you're 12, and you're like, I'm not 12. I swear.
Needs. Saying that we're good. Yeah, so I really felt bad for her. For sure.
And Rexplode is. Do we have any more sympathy for him now?
Oh, after his backstory?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
I do a little bit. I meant, he's still kind of a trash human being.
Yeah.
But
it's a little more understandable.
For sure.
You get a little bit of his backstory, but.
And I like the 1 or 2 pages we're seeing of Adam Eve in action fulfilling her dream.
Yeah, I will say, like, that was the one character that kind of got abandoned in this volume for the most part. We just get glimpses of her, and I was a little disappointed by that. So I assume she plays a bigger role later because she's on the covers of like some of these. So I'm sure she comes back, but like to play a pretty prominent role. But it's just like, oh, I would have liked to have gotten a little more of that. That was fun. I'm just gonna say, like, speaking of, like, Otley put like some drawings of her in there, and I was like, so Otley at least you could tell liked the character, so to draw her.
Well, the cover of issue 14 is outstanding, and she's front and center.
Yeah.
That's about as much as we see of.
Yeah. Which one was 14? I'm trying to remember 14's cover now. That's the first issue of the volume. Hang on. Yeah, that's when they're battling the aliens.
And that's what I love, the compendiums and the omnis, but I'd much rather have those hardcovers because of all the cool extras you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like the trade paperback, they don't put everything.
Yeah, the trades don't include all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it wasn't just her that he did some like sweet little side drawings of, but
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I need to look at I've got the hardback omnis, but I've just got 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I need to look and see if they've got.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been looking to like, because I got 1 through 6, and I think I can find 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 really easy of this format. I can't find 7 anywhere, like not even on eBay. So it's like, oh,
really?
I found.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daymare. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I found the hardcover of 1, but the cheapest I could find it was $300.
Of which one?
No,
of the compendium one.
Oh, the compendium hardcover. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
No, that is crazy.
I lucked out. I pre-ordered them as they came out. That's why I.
Okay. You came up then. You guys don't have like a half-price bookstore out there?
I do have one. I'll have to go see if I can find it and if they have something. But like, just looking online, I have not been able to find that volume 7. I have not been able to find it online anywhere recently. So,
and you know
it's not on Amazon. It's not on like anywhere. So it's not on eBay.
I've had to go back, like when I make the mistake of not checking everything out, and I start buying the hardcovers of stuff that's already finished. It seems like there's always at least one hardcover volume that's a ghost.
Yeah.
That you're just gonna, it's gonna be impossible to find, and when you do, people know it's a ghost and they want an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have the feeling that's the road I'm headed down with this, and it's like, So, I don't know. We got a little while before I need to track it down, but I may have to like have the community help me see if they can find one somewhere.
If you're watching this, help them out.
Well, we're 40 minutes in. What else? Any other like story points you guys want to talk about before we start wrapping this up? That we haven't hit on yet?
I haven't watched I watched the first episode of the cartoon. That's it. I'm curious as to how much more Robot Story played out. I'll have to break down and finish.
Me too. I've only watched the first. Even watching that first episode was intense.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going to be almost an hour long. I thought it was like a little 25-minute episode.
Yeah, the robot stuff. Like I just literally the robot thing just played out when did I watch that? Was that last night? Like I've watched all but the last episode at this point. So like the third to last episode is I think when we get a bunch of the robot stuff.
Okay.
The third or second to last episode, one of the two. Like episode, because there's 8, I guess. So episode 6 and 7 is when you get a lot of the robot stuff, but that is not in here yet. Now, how much close that is to what's going on, I don't know. So the reveal that's in here happens like one episode before that storyline starts to play out. So, so it'll be interesting to see how close it is, because several of the storylines in the show are very different than this. Has anybody watched the whole thing? So you only watched episode. Damers has watched the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, you guys
I watched the whole thing before I read the books, actually. So.
Okay. I watched episodes 1 and 2 after I read the first volume, and then I stopped because we were going to do the show, and I didn't want to be confused because there was enough differences. And then after I finished this, I went and started rewatching the whole thing because I kind of forgot about it. I'll be honest. So
I was watching them as they was coming out. I hit.
It was so hard for me not to do that. It was so hard for me not, because I wanted to read the first couple trades before I watched any of the episodes, just so I can at least get like an idea of the show, of the characters.
So yeah, Lady F, I'm looking for like the Ultimate Collection number 7. So it's like collects multiple trades, the hardcovers. But
I just looked in the last couple of sales of the compendium hardcovers. The 3.
The big ones, yeah.
Yeah. The set of 3 have been going for over 1,000.
No, stop.
Now hardcovers go for big money, man. Especially when they stop printing them.
Yeah. Following a couple of people like omnibuses and all that, like those.
Yeah, that's what these are basically.
Okay.
But if they reprint the hardcovers, those 3 will be worth $50 each.
Yeah. Well, what it was is they only released them at San Diego Comic-Con, and then had extra at the on their Skybound store.
Gotcha.
And one sold out earlier than 2 and 3, but you can still get 2 and 3 will still bring $400 to $500 for the pair.
Wow.
So I'm thinking about selling them.
Just getting the paper, dropping back down to the paperback.
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing is, when I did this, the reason I went this route was because I could find them. Like when I looked, Inside Trades had them all, like 1 through 12, and then I ordered like the first 6, and then like the day after I ordered them, they started dropping off the website. It was like
everybody was start reading them.
Yeah, in stock trades, they're getting their stuff together right about now, but there was about 5 months where they were just all over the map.
Well, I think printing and everything else, like everybody was low on stock on this kind of stuff. Like they were having it's just amazing. Like trades have just been like everything. They're just in short supply. So
the whole Invincible trade paperbacks really started drying up once the show.
Yeah,
that's what I assumed.
Just even ads started off.
Yeah.
It's like everybody wants to buy them up.
Oh, you're okay. So, well, we kind of got sidetracked looking at the volumes of stuff that you're collecting and reading, but any other story points you guys want to talk about in this? Because, like I said, I feel like this was a lot of setup for things that are going to come. It was still really good. I really enjoyed it. What did you think of this? What do you think of this portion of the story?
I love it. I listen, and I hate to keep flogging a dead horse, but the only comic I know that's even more fast-paced than this, where there's never a let-up, is Fear Agent.
Yeah.
Which one?
Just what I'm looking for. They might have those long sequences of dialogue, but I mean, we're moving from there's 2 or 3 story arcs in every issue, it seems like.
Yeah. And what was the other story you were mentioning? Unruly. You kind of cut out when you said the other one.
Fear Agent. Fear Agent is
Fear
a roller
Agent.
coaster. It just ratchets.
I just read issue 1.
Flat part. It's all uphill and downhill, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk, what about you? What did you think of this volume overall?
I liked it. I definitely like the development of the main character, and just seeing like him live his life, through all like the crazy superhero shenanigans that he gets into. Still being able to like graduate from high school and start college.
Yeah.
He's definitely got like a long road ahead. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see when Omni-Man comes back. And I'm like,
Yeah, I'm sure that's
what I'm waiting
gonna be a
for.
rather dramatic big event when Dad comes back.
Or any of the other of his race.
Yeah. Or somebody else. Because we do
because
that is the one interesting thing about the Allen story. Like, which could have been a complete side story, but really what it sets up is the Viltrumites, or I forget how they pronounce it, but
I think that's right.
Yeah. Know that Nolan has left his post. So, like, they find out what happened, and then he had a son. So, my guess is it's probably going to be some sort of response from their home planet, to put it mildly. It probably won't be a pleasant one. Yeah, it might not be a pleasant one. So we'll see where that goes. But
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, what is it? It is the Viltrumite. Yeah, Viltrumite. That's how I pronounce it anyway. Viltur or TRU might.
I like the Viltrumites.
Not to be confused with Vegemite.
Not to be confused with Vegemite. No.
So spreadable.
I don't think there's anything spreadable about the Voltrumites. They're some badass mofos.
No, they definitely pack a wallop, to put it mildly. And they don't particularly seem to like anybody but themselves, generally.
Well, and even in their history, they didn't like themselves.
Yeah, they didn't. They went to war with themselves, like to cull the
species.
Yeah, they wiped out half their own species to cull the weak. So apparently, Thanos and them would probably get along just fine.
I know, right? What, you didn't snap?
So, final thoughts. Let's start with Kirk. Final thoughts on this, where we're going in this volume, and what you're looking forward to, kind of thing.
Well, yeah. My thought, like I said, I can't wait to see what's the main character's name? Mark, right?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, where I can't wait to see like where his level of power is going to go to, and like I said, like, are we going to get a second fight between him and his father? That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, is it going to?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kurt. I thought you were done.
Oh no, I was saying, like you were saying earlier, is there going to be a giant war between his race and Earth?
I mean, there's so many different possible, little ramifications that I can't wait to see how they turn out. I mean, it can go so many different ways, from one issue, let alone 14 of them.
Yeah, they're definitely, I will say that it's been one of the things that, like, for the most part, I'm completely blind going into this, but it's popular enough that I'd heard a few things. Like, I knew, like, when I opened the book, that Omni-Man was not, like, that he was bad. Like, that he was a bad guy, at least at some point. We'll see if he stays that way or not. But, like, so there's been things that just from culture that I've heard enough that, like, but boy, it's, it's a page turner. He sets a lot up, and he, and we talked about that. Like, he follows through on stuff. He doesn't, like, that's the thing you get a lot of, it seems like, anymore, is particularly with writer changes and everything else in a lot of the current comics, or at least in Marvel and DC, is they set things up and then the writers switch, and then there's never a payoff to, like, and this feels like the fact that he pays off, like, that he threw the garbage in the air, and then he throws his cap into the air and it disappears, and then it comes down in the same spot, and, like, that he's paying off stuff like that you feel like, okay, he's not setting up stuff that he's not going to pay off. That this is all going to be like he's going to, make stuff count.
Did you notice the Easter egg on the graduation cover? It's all the hands. You're seeing hands at the bottom, and the caps flying up, and the top of the page. Mark's wearing his Invincible gloves. You see his fingers in the Invincible gloves?
No way! I'm gonna go back and take a look.
I have to go. I'm looking for that cover right now.
See that, but I
20.
No way!
I did see whenever the one guy that was getting all of his duplicates, whenever he had the van, it had an interesting license plate on it.
Oh, what did it say?
The number 4 and then a dash and skin. That was the license plate of the van.
What?
Wow.
I don't know if they stole it from like a band or.
To your point, man, I love that you've got the same creative team on this book for however many issues it was, 150 plus.
Yeah.
And that he does pay off his own setups. I just can't imagine these writers talk about. I could imagine getting bored after 3 or 4 years with Batman, a character that's been around for 70 years. But if it's your own creation, I don't see how you'd ever get bored with it. I would hope you finish the freaking story.
Oh yeah, there you go. It took me forever to. I couldn't remember which issue it was. It took me forever to find that.
Well, look at Savage Dragon, Eric Larson and Savage Dragon. Like he's still going strong with that series.
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Hang on, I'll make you big. Nice.
Oh, I just noticed down below that is a Redskins. It's a Redskins bumper sticker right below that.
Oh, okay.
I think you mean the Washington football team.
Yeah.
It is now.
Well, yeah, like after the fact, they tried to make it like that. It wasn't the other, and it was the Washington football team. Yeah. PC. I will say, the Mahler twins are kind of are particular favorites. I love that they're just constantly I'm the original. No, I'm the original.
And they're when they're bickering, they're like two not very bright adolescents. But whenever they're talking to anyone else, they're pretty freaking bright. I mean, look at what he snatched them for. I mean, they're geniuses that act like 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They brought that other dude back to life. Like they're like you said, they're geniuses.
Yeah. I mean, and Angstrom uses them to build this procedure. He recognizes that that these are the people that they're the ones that are capable. Well, I guess technically originally it was one guy, but this guy and his clone are capable of doing, or probably the only people capable of building this thing that he wants, and so he can download all this information. And they're a fun set. It'll be interesting to see now that the one's been damaged. I assume he's going to reclone himself, but
that's what I figured too.
But yeah, I love how he's like, "Thanks, brother. You were a big help." When next I clone myself, I hope the one as useless and unconscious as you were. So.
And didn't they do that in the cartoon in the first episode?
It goes even deeper in the cartoon.
Yeah, in the cartoon it goes further about how that process works and him doing that, letting one of them, using one as a shield, and then just replacing him.
So messed up. Who needs a shield? You have yourself.
When I have myself, and I'm just gonna use as a.
Which, if you assume that you're the original, you'd have no qualms in sacrificing your clone, would you?
Well, and that's what it mentioned in the comic book, that, each one of them think that they're the original.
Yeah. So they're not worried about it.
Had it planned that way. He doesn't even know who the original is.
Yeah.
If the original still exists.
eating Ben and Jerry's, chilling.
I was gonna say probably at this point the original doesn't exist anymore. I would guess, given the way they go through them. At some point the original's been killed, and like it's just clone after clone after clone, and so you do wonder how long that lasts before it would break down. But
that's what I'm saying. I wonder if the genetics is like worse every time. So is he like, are they getting less intelligent? Because it doesn't seem like it.
No, well, I mean, I don't know in here, but in the show, they do a complete. I mean, they grow the body off their own genetics, and then they do a complete mind swap. Exactly. So it's two people that have the exact same memories of everything.
It's just like the people of Krakoa. It's like when they get cloned back, it's like they have all the memories that they had before they died, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they clone the body, and then it's just a body that's an empty vessel, and then they do a mind not transfer, but
they just record one brain and put it into another.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? If you want to get speculative, I have no doubt that if we manage to not kill the planet one day and in less time than we would imagine, that will be possible. That sort of technology.
Yeah. But this is kind of frightening.
Very frightening.
So, well, fellas, we are coming up on an hour. I think we can wrap this up. Unless you guys got something just you have to talk about at this point.
Not that I can think of.
I know Unruly and Daymares make lots of videos, but I'll give them a chance if they have anything they're planning to put out on their channel to promote. You guys got anything coming up?
I'll be with you next Tuesday.
Yes,
next Tuesday.
We're doing Gotham City Chronicles. We're doing Batman Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader by Neil Gaiman. So that's a short one. I know, we might not be too long on that one.
And I'll be with you Sunday on Big Will's channel with D&D.
Maybe.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And Unruly will be actually on my channel twice next week because on Thursday we're doing some more Fables.
So what is that? 14 and 15?
Yeah, this is 14 and 15.
For Fables?
And then
okay.
Monday, unless something breaks or bends, I will be on Southern Comic Geek's channel for auction.
Nice.
Type stuff.
Nice.
Good. Well, Kirk,
come by stuff.
Anything coming up?
Oh yeah, we got our show Not Near Mint tomorrow with the whole Not Near Mint crew. It's going to be a great episode. We're interviewing the creators from the creators of Stray Dogs. So I love that series. I can't wait. So if anybody has time, come on and see this interview. And then, I'm excited. And then Thursday I have the Teachers Lounge. Hopefully, we haven't had a show in like a month, but hopefully we'll have an episode this Thursday. Besides that, just my regular IG stuff.
Nice. So got coming up, we kind of talked about a bunch of it. I'll do my regular planning to get the look back cranked out for this weekend, but I'm going to be gone again over Sunday, so there won't be no Sunday stuff this weekend. What? Okay. I thought you asked me something. So none of my Sunday stuff, and then next week we got two indie shows and a Gotham City Chronicles. We're going to be on my channel. We're going to do the Batman one we just talked about. We're going to be doing Fables, and then we're also going to, fingers crossed, finally give you stock to jump on one. I think this is attempt number 5. So we will see what happens.
The Curse of Usagi.
It has been, I think at this point, all of us have canceled. So all 4 of us have canceled at some point. So hopefully next Friday we'll get it in. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out, whether you hung out earlier for my unboxing or now. So we will see you guys later.
See ya.